Stormers against the Lions, final game of the URC regular season, and here are my initial thoughts immediately following the final whistle. My hot takes, these are just the first things that are coming out of my head and onto the channel, and if you appreciate the content, give the video a thumbs up, give me your comments down below. How good was that match? If I could summarise that game with one image, it would be this. It was like, red and blue, it was like two boxers just swinging haymakers for 80 minutes. Full-blooded, intense. There were tries, there was massive defensive moments, there was cards, there was nerves, there was a bit of niggle under the surface. Tension right to the end. Absolutely loved that game. And I've got to say, well, there's a few things. Bearing in mind I'm coming to South Africa in a few weeks' time. I was looking at the weather thinking, isn't this going to be their autumn, winter? I can tell you why I was wearing several layers this morning, and it's meant to be practically our summer in the UK. So yeah, it looked amazing, and it looked like the crowd that turned out at the DHL Stadium in Cape Town looked really good as well. The URC is bubbling to a lovely crescendo, and an 80-minute game, and spoiler alert, that was the final score, 29 points to 24. And I think really the game came down to, obviously it's an 80-minute match and there's lots of things that go on through the game, and I will discuss some of them. But I think that the big moment was it within the final 10 minutes, 72 minutes, Lions are on the attack. They're camped on the Stormers' line, wave after wave of pressure, and the Stormers managed to do a brilliant defensive goal line stand and hold on. And the reward for the Lions, it was the lead at that point in the game. I think it was 24 points to 22 they went up, but only 3 points. Whereas 76 minutes, just a few minutes later, the Stormers were in the Lions 22, and it was a driving maul from 22 metres out. Power, technique, and then an awesome touchline conversion by Marnie Lebok. And that was it, the full 7 points. And it was that just little clinical edge, extra bit of power, which the Stormers had in their locker, which made the difference. But it was a really brave effort by the Lions. And yeah, oh, by the way, just on the Libok goal kicking, loving this fella. The fact he's just become such a character. Is that his actual barnet? Is that his actual haircut? Or does he wear that wig? Anyway, I love it. I love the fact that you've got someone there just kind of, you know, an adult man doing a little impression of Marnie Libok as he goes up to kick. The man, the myth, the legend, there he is. But yeah, the Lions were up for one man for 22 minutes of that match. And I'm tempted to say, when I think about it, yeah, I've already mentioned the power game of the Stormers. Their scrum won a number of important penalties through the game. Their maul was superior, not least in that final try, this try here, where they went over from, like I say, about 22 metres out. Real good technique and power. But I'm sort of tempted to say the Lions just managed the second half dreadfully. It was 2 tries apiece in the first half, but Jordan Hendricks, with his goal kicking, meant there was a 9-point advantage. The second half, and the Lions, bearing in mind for over half of that second half, they had a man advantage. They only scored 3 points, and they conceded 17. So, but the way things actually are, or the way it all shakes down, is that the result, 29 points to 24, could be happy days for everybody, because the Stormers, they get 5th position. But because of matters going on in Treviso, in the game between Benetton and Edinburgh, where Edinburgh just capitulated. Their fans have been telling me on the channel, oh, Tim, it's nice that you think Edinburgh could win in Treviso, but mentally we're shot, we're not there, we can't do it. And, well, those Edinburgh fans know more about it than me. I was just looking at the names on the team sheet, but the top 2 inches, Edinburgh have blown it. And I think basically Ospreys have to win by a crazy number of points to oust the Lions from 8th position. So I think we're in a situation where 3 South African teams are going to be in the playoffs. 3 South African teams, 3 Irish teams, an Italian team and a Scottish team, which is great reward for the Lions, but they'll probably feel like this one got away and that like they should have won. Yeah, because they had that one-man advantage in the second half. And weirdly, the reason I'm not going to say they managed the second half really badly is because the man they lost was Sanela Nahamba, who is a little magician, and he's their talisman, and he's their creative spark. And I almost think, and particularly when you think about the Glasgow game and that amazing second half that the Lions had then, I'm tempted to say the Lions with Sanele Nahamba and 14 men is better than the Lions with 15 men but no Nahamba. So in a funny way, I've come away thinking, actually, I think that red card was a net advantage for the Stormers because it took Nahamba off the pitch. So I think it actually helped the Stormers more than hindered them, because it just seemed like the Lions just lost their direction. They didn't quite have the same structure on the play. They were trying to pull rabbits out of hats rather than kind of building pressure. That said, they did have the chance. And on the red card, by the way, you will not find a more obvious and egregious red card than that. Angelo Davids had the most amazing opportunity to put in a thumper of a shot legally. He had a massive run up. The guy was lined up. Nahamba was lined up, and all he had to do was lower his height, and he would have absolutely filled him in legally, which you love to see in rugby. But it was awful. He'll miss the whole playoffs after that red card. Angelo Davids' season is over, and you have to worry that Sanele Nahamba, his rugby may be over until September. That's the concern, because the shot he took was awful. Low for the Lions, though, coming in with a brain fade, and I can understand he was annoyed at Davids for the tackle, but there was no need to take the law into his own hands, and he got a yellow card, which definitely didn't help the Lions' cause. That was a real brain fade. Other big difference, I've already mentioned the Stormers' power game, haven't I? Lions gave it everything. In terms of individuals that really impressed me, for the Lions, I love this guy, JC Pretorius. He's an absolute baller, isn't he? Just all-action bundle of energy. If you had his battle stats, they'd be off the chart, wouldn't they? I can understand the comparison with Quacker Smith. I know they've both got sevens background, but turnovers, stealing on the deck. He's just all elbows and knees when he runs. He's rapid. He makes big tackles. There was one point just before the Lions scored, he just managed to come out of nowhere, like someone just like bravely diving on a grenade, and he went and dived on the ball, just desperate. He was really enjoyed watching him. And his teammates that really impressed me, again, Jordan Hendrickse. I know he's off to the Sharks next year. He's a proper player. A fly half slotting in at 12. And what impressed me, his goal kicking was excellent, but it was his yards in contact. He's like big strong boy as a 10, and I think he could be a playmaking option as a 12 looking into the future. He's a young man. If South Africa wanted to evolve the way they play, I know Stormers use Damian Willems in that fashion, but Hendricks is a guy that could evolve the way South Africa play if they didn't want to have a big Boscher as a 12. Kwan Horn as well, really like him. Franco Horn and Morne van der Berg. The Lions have got some really good players, and if they do make it to the playoffs for the first time, that would be a big achievement, and hopefully it might be a sign enough for some of those lads. You know what, I'm going to stick around here for a bit. Obviously they're losing Hendricks the next season to the Sharks, but the Lions need to keep hold of some of these guys. The shame is, it looks like a victory would have got them Champions Cup rugby next season, quite possibly. Don't know. They may have needed the winning, but the try bonus point as well as a win, so it might not have changed anything. But top 7 now are where the get Champions Cup rugby, and missing out on that is a real shame for them. As for the Stormers, well, Marnie Lebock is all round play at 10. He plays so flat to the line. His goal kicking was on point. Evan Ruiz, he went beast mode for his try, didn't he? What do you think? Right, comments down below. Starting for the All Blacks, starting for the Box against Ireland in just over a month's time. Will he be in the starting back row? What do you think? No Jasper Wiese now because he's suspended. Evan Roos in line for a starting spot. I'll be interested to know. I mean, you've got an embarrassment of riches in the back row there. Obviously, Elric Lowe and Cameron Hanekom playing in a bit. They'll have something to say about that, but I was very impressed with Evan Roos. Ngomazulu, both fullbacks on the pitch today, played really well. And with Willems are out, obviously there's Willy LaRue, but you've got this new breed of players coming through, Ngomazulu and Horn and Tyrone Green. Who's gonna get that? Who's gonna get the spot of fullback? Lots of questions we can answer another time, but for now, let's just enjoy a really, really good game of rugby. And both South African teams, it looks like, progressing to the knockout stages. And if you had to guess where it's going to go at this point, it'll be the Stormers on the road going to Glasgow next weekend, and it'll be the Lions probably going to Munster. But obviously we've got to wait for the more results before we can say that conclusively. Right, thank you very much for your support on the channel. If I haven't earned your subscription, maybe I will right now. Help me spread the word by giving the video a thumbs up, by leaving a comment, and I'll see you on the next one.